Hello. So I'm really excited. So I'm noticing that there's a whole bunch of elderberry plants popping up on the side over here. And I think what happened is the previous owner had mowed them down. And so I didn't realize they were here, but they're popping up really fast. And I came out here and was like, wow, what is all this stuff coming up? And I looked really close and I was like, that looks like elderberry. And sure enough, I took out my plant ID thing where you, on iPhones, you can just kind of scroll down and you can ID the plant, and it popped up as elderberry. And I'm like, So I tried a couple other ones to double check it. And sure enough, they're matching as elderberry. And so I actually did a search online to look at elderberry leaves. And sure enough, I got a whole bunch of elderberry. So I'm really excited. My mom swears by elderberry. I think it tastes delicious. And obviously you don't want to have them raw because there are cyanogenic compounds in them, which just basically means your body metabolizes the berries into cyanide. But let's get a better look at this. Let me flip my camera around. All right, so this is what elderberry looks like. And you can see these flowers. Something else cool is these plants have formed a symbiotic relationship with ants. Alice, what does that mean when they have a symbiotic relationship with ants?
Is that it means that like they're practically helping each other.
Good. And so what's happening here, let me see if I can find an example. You'll notice here this ant is just running back and forth, and if I watch him long enough, the ant will make little stops at these positions right here. And what happens at these positions? Yep. What happens right there? Why do the ants keep going there?
Because there's nectar in there that they like.
Oh, there we go. He's doing it right now. See that ant right there? He's drinking nectar from those positions. And what the elderberry plant does is secretes nectar from those positions as a reward, saying, hey ants, come and hang out on my leaves and I'll feed you lots of nectar. So you can guess what happens if a predator starts munching on the elderberry. Right, then the ants are going to freak out.
And then they're going to attack the predator.
That's right. They're going to attack the predator. So that's their defense mechanism. They feed the ants, and in exchange, the ants patrol their leaves, protect them from bugs. If aphids come along, the ants are going to prefer the elderberry nectar over the aphid nectar. And so that'll actually prevent aphids and any other insects from going anywhere near these plants because obviously they're infested with ants. And if I wanted to, I could get really close and touch one of these ants and they'll completely freak out. And then we'll have like a ton of ants coming out of the bottom just to come up and protect this plant because they don't want their precious nectar producing plant to get damaged. So it's kind of a beautiful relationship. But anyway, as you can see, tons of elderberry, baby elderberries. I accidentally mowed some actually the last time I mowed. And so those are already coming up. And I mowed like 3 days ago. So it's amazing how fast elderberry grows. But I have a ton of plants. Just all through here. Elderberry. I don't see any lignified or woody stems. But tons of elderberry. So I think this all got cut back very recently. But I'm excited to have a bunch of elderberry. I'll probably make it into syrup. I know it has a lot of health benefits. I'm not sure how effective it is. I know last time I had a cold, my mom sent me elderberry gummies. I think I actually had COVID and she sent me elderberry gummies. And I don't know if it's anecdotal, if it actually does anything, but I do know that after I ate those gummies, I was better in like 2 days. So maybe it does something, maybe it doesn't. I don't know if there's laboratory studies that show that it does, but I know that for me, when I was sick, elderberry made me feel better. I don't know if it's just because it's really yummy or if it actually did something, who knows? But I'm not gonna go and tell you it does when there's no research showing that it does, but for me it does. So I'm happy to have all this elderberry coming up. I'm gonna have to start probably propagating it. There's a ton here, so I might try to dig some of these little elderberry babies up and maybe spread them out a little bit since I've been slowly eliminating things that I don't really want. Like over here, there's a bunch of pokeweed. Don't really necessarily need. Yeah, it's pretty toxic. And so I've been chopping that down just because I don't want the dogs eating it. I've heard it can actually hurt dogs. My dogs aren't really that dumb. I mean, the only thing I see them nibbling on now is clover. For whatever reason, they love these little clover flowers. Every once in a while, I'll see the dogs nibbling on those. Haven't seen them over here. Honestly, I think that if they nibbled on these elderberries, it might probably make them sick, but I think the ants kind of deter them. But anyway, if you see a plant that looks like this, get someone to verify what it is. You'll see these beautiful flowers, and then eventually you'll see berries. You don't want to eat them raw, from what I understand. You want to make sure you cook them, and then when you cook them, you break down those cyanide compounds. They don't technically have cyanide, but for whatever reason, when our body attempts to digest the berries, it produces cyanide type compounds. So by cooking them, you actually prevent that process from occurring. And so you don't generate cyanide when you try digesting them. So definitely want to cook the berries, turn them into jelly or something that requires cooking, jam, syrup, whatever. And so I'll probably reduce them down to syrup and preserve them.
I'd love to try elderberry syrup or
I'll make some for you. So there you go. That's what they look like. Again, up close to the flowers. This is before the flowers have bloomed. So this is pre-bloom flowers. Those are flower buds. And the leaves are pretty distinct. They remind me a little bit of walnut in the distance. Similar to walnut, but these are a little bit more jagged. But that's what the leaves look like. And yeah, if you have these, be thankful. If you don't, plant them. Just kidding. If you know me and you're local, I'd be happy to give you a cutting and you can start your own elderberry patch. All right. Hope this helps you. Thanks for joining me in the chaos. Yes, darling?
you actually have an elderberry over by the garage on the other side.
Oh, really? Let's go see.